Get your Kleenex ready.
We have to break up.
Why?
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for another top 10 TV couple breakup scenes.
Marshall, I love you.
Can you promise me that that's not going to happen?
Pause.
No, Lily, we cannot pause this anymore. Can you promise me that that's not going to happen?
Pause.
Why do you want me to pause?
Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. For this list, we're looking at even more of the most memorable small screen breakups of all time. We'll be focusing on the saddest, the funniest, the most impactful, and the most iconic breakup scenes from both comedies and dramas. Number 10. Ben Wyatt and Leslie Knope, Parks and Recreation. Ben and Leslie have got to be one of the cutest couples in TV history, and their breakup at the beginning of season 4 was just as sweet as they are.
What I'm about to say is going to contradict the idea that I really like you, but that
so
won't
just
change.
open the box.
Please stop breaking out the box, okay?
Leslie?
You're being really nice, and what I'm about to say is going to make you hate me.
Okay, then I'll just open the box for you.
Wow.
There was no dramatic blowout here. The pair knew that in order for Leslie to advance her career, they couldn't be together because it would be a conflict of interest. Ben gets Leslie a Knope 2012 button, and they both know that it has to end.
Leslie, everything you've accomplished, you have earned and you have worked for. I don't want anyone to think that you got where you are today by sleeping with your boss.
Despite the fact that this breakup is a mutual decision, it's still heartbreaking to watch. Thank goodness the Parks and Rec writers couldn't keep them apart for long.
I just need you to be in my life. You're too important to me.
Number 9. Willow Rosenberg and Tara Maclay, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. The Buffy the Vampire Slayer episode, Tabula Rasa, is one of the show's best and most memorable, but it also contains one of the show's most difficult breakup scenes. The showrunners were working on writing one of the earliest lesbian relationships on TV, and they made Willow and Tara struggle, as Willow's magical practices got out of control. Willow vows to stop using magic for a week to prove that she can, but when Willow breaks her promise, Tara leaves her. The Michelle Branch song playing in the background of this scene makes it all the more emotional in the most 2000s way possible. Number 8. Rory Gilmore and Dean Forrester, Gilmore Girls.
I love you. Rory?
If you were hit hard by your first breakup, you can definitely relate to this entry. Rory and Dean seemed like the perfect couple, and when they were celebrating an important anniversary, Dean took the moment to tell Rory he loved her.
This is not something that you think about, Rory. This is something that you either feel or you don't.
Please don't be mad.
Why? Because I say I love you and you want to think about it? I mean, go home and discuss it with your mother? Make one of your pro-con lists?
When she couldn't say it back, however, he ended things with her. Rory is at first in denial about her feelings, and is all business in her manner of dealing with the breakup, despite Lorelei's attempts to convince her to wallow accordingly.
Rory? We just broke up.
It's only a matter of time, however, and when Rory finally faces her feelings, her mom is thankfully there to comfort her, making for an emotional moment.
I'm ready to wallow now.
Number 7. Jessica Day and Nick Miller, New Girl.
Do you ever miss when we were just friends, Jess? And there wasn't this pressure to be together and to be
different people?
Yes, be different people.
It was clear from early on that these two were meant to be together. But just like most other TV couples, there had to be a few bumps along the way. At the end of season 3, Nick and Jess start talking about the future, and realize that they've had pretty dramatically different visions of how the coming years look.
Are we?
No, I love you.
Well, I love you too.
More than I've ever loved anybody.
But what if that's the only thing we have in common?
Despite the fact that they love each other more than they've ever loved anyone before, they decide to break up, because that seems to be the only thing they have in common. Seeing a couple end things when they still have such strong feelings for one another is totally heartbreaking.
So what does that mean? Are we...
Yeah.
Number 6. Jon Snow and Ygritte, Game of Thrones. The world of Westeros isn't necessarily known for its romantic subplots, but one of the sweetest couples to emerge from this dark and violent place is Jon and Ygritte.
Ygritte, you know I didn't have a choice. You always knew who I was, what I am.
The Crow and Wildling had forces working against them from the very beginning, because of the very different worlds they came from. When it finally comes time for them to part ways, Ygritte manages to get in one more version of her iconic line, before Jon tells her that he still loves her.
You know nothing, Jon Snow. I do know some things. I know I love you.
She doesn't stand down, however, and shoots him several times with her bow and arrow. Now that's one seriously messy breakup.
I have to go home now.
Number 5. Brooke Davis and Lucas Scott, One Tree Hill. As far as TV shows go, there are few as emotionally fraught as this one.
I feel like I've been keeping you close to me to try to protect you from those things. Like I'm hanging on to the two of us for you, but not for me.
One Tree Hill is full of devastating moments, but Brooke and Lucas's second breakup has got to be one of the worst, despite the fact that we always kinda knew he'd end up with Peyton.
But we go days without having a meaningful conversation. And I used to miss you so much when that happened. But it never seemed like you missed me.
Peyton was one of the major reasons that this relationship didn't work out. First because of their affair, and then because of the kiss she shared with Lucas during the school shooting. In the end though, Brooke ended things with Lucas for her own reasons, and assured him that it was about much more than just Peyton.
I'm sorry. I can't do this anymore.
Number 4. Elena Gilbert and Stefan Salvatore, The Vampire Diaries.
We did this. Stefan, Jenna's in the hospital, and Jeremy could be next. All because we didn't listen to her, because we're together.
Elena and Stefan were the OG Vampire Diaries couple. And you can knock yourselves out debating Stelena versus Delena in the comments, but you can't deny that this relationship was one that had us hooked, and left us devastated when it ended. These two called it quits more than once, but the breakup that really gutted us was the one that took place near the beginning of season 2, when Elena decides that they need to part ways for the greater good.
I've been so selfish because I love you so much. And I know how much you love me. But it's over.
This scene is nearly impossible to watch, and every time we watch it, we're just as teary-eyed as the characters. Number 3. Kurt Hummel and Blaine Anderson, Glee. There were a lot of fan-favorite couples on Glee, but perhaps none was more beloved than this one.
I miss you like crazy, and I can't stand not talking to you even though I'm mad at you. Because you're still my best friend.
You're mine too.
From the very beginning of their courtship, viewers loved these two together, and we continued to root for them even as their journey encountered obstacle after obstacle.
What do you even want anymore? Do you even want this wedding? Do you even want to marry me?
Maybe I don't!
While they actually had a couple of serious breakups, the first one remains the one that hit us hardest. In season 4, Kurt and Blaine have been doing long distance, and Blaine suddenly admits that he has been unfaithful because he was lonely without Kurt. We can all imagine how hurtful this would be, and Chris Colfer's acting in this scene is outstanding.
I needed you. I needed you around and you weren't there. And I was lonely, and I'm really sorry.
And you don't think that I've been lonely? You don't think that I've had temptations, but I didn't act on it because I knew what it meant. It meant something horrible and awful.
I'm so sorry, Kurt. I really am.
Number 2. Blair Waldorf and Chuck Bass, Gossip Girl. We knew from the very beginning that Chuck wasn't exactly the most stand-up guy, but we couldn't help but root for him and Blair to make it work.
I love you too.
Things take a dark turn in season 3, however, when Chuck is at risk of losing his prized hotel, and Jack says that he will give it to him as long as he gets to spend a night with Blair. Just the fact that Chuck would even entertain this idea is understandably enough to make Blair furious, and she leaves him.
I never thought that the worst thing you would ever do would be to me.
You went up there on your own.
Of course, we knew it couldn't actually be the end for these two, and sure enough, by the series finale, they got their happily ever after.
And by the power vested in me by the great state of New York, I now pronounce you man and wife. You may kiss the bride.
Before we unveil our top pick, here are some honorable mentions.
I want to have a baby. But I don't want to have one with someone who doesn't really want to have one.
Spence, what does it say? She's gone.
Are you breaking up with me?
Well, are you getting back that ring?
Yes.
Then... yes.
And I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to fix it or fix us anymore. Maybe instead of loving you so hard, I should be myself for a while.
I don't love you.
Bets don't. You're distraught.
It's true. But I don't love you anymore.
Number 1, Lily Aldrin and Marshall Erickson. How I Met Your Mother.
You know, if you're having these kind of doubts now, what's gonna change in 3 months? Maybe we just shouldn't get married at all.
Maybe not. In the very first episode of How I Met Your Mother, Lily and Marshall get engaged, and then go on to be basically relationship goals for the rest of the series.
I know this sucks. It's just something I'm going through. I'm not asking you to understand it. I'm not asking you to be happy about it. I'm just asking you to support it.
There is one major blip, however, at the end of season 1, when Lily chooses to go to San Francisco to pursue her artistic passions, leaving Marshall behind. The breakup is a shocking one, because fans couldn't believe that these two would actually call it quits.
What if you decide to go be a painter, and then you realize I don't fit into your life anymore, and 3 months becomes forever? Can you promise me that that's not gonna happen?
Marshall.
Because if you can't promise me that, we should just break up right now. I'm not gonna wait around for 3 months just to have my heart ripped out.
The beginning of season 2 is also awful to watch, as we see Marshall trying to get over Lily and failing miserably. Barney and Robin's breakup was also tough to watch, despite the fact that they obviously weren't meant to be.
I'm tired of being canceled out.
Me too. You breaking up?
I think so.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from MsMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.